Welcome back to the channel. There are three stories I'd like to take a look at in today's aviation news proceedings. That is an airline that is finally getting rid of strike action for the moment, the Federal Aviation Administration re-entering headlines when talking about a US airline, and lastly, an African company has finally posted a profit after around 7 years. Let's begin with coverage on United Airlines, who have become one of the latest companies to face increased oversight by the Federal Aviation Administration, or more commonly referred to, and just simply the FAA. This follows a series of safety concerns that have emerged. Concerns you've probably seen depicted in general media. As part of an announcement that was unveiled on March 23rd, the FAA said it wanted to ensure that United continued to comply with safety regulations. Additionally, the regulator focused on United specifically because it's been subject to many safety incidents in recent months that have made headlines right around the world. The investigation and overall increased oversight will focus on ensuring that United Airlines is compliant. This will be achieved by analyzing the company's current hazards and making sure that changes can ultimately be made to mitigate the risk. Since the beginning of 2024, panels have gone missing upon arriving at airports from aircraft. Other planes have rolled into grass patches, and we've seen several other minor concerns and safety incidents that have taken place. While none of the aforementioned incidents were fatal, thankfully, the FAA wants to better understand why this is happening to United Airlines and so frequently. These increases in oversight are not something that is uncommon in the airline industry, especially within the US sector. United has actually experienced such a thing before, and other airlines in the US have similar experiences, a theme that has occurred over a multi-decade period. However, the motive to investigate United Airlines now rather than say in 2 years has purely been spurred on thanks to several incidents that, as I touched on, have occurred in quick succession and become, really there's no other way to put it, a cause for concern, at least from the FAA. Analysts argue that the FAA's move to increase oversight into United Airlines shouldn't be a shock when understanding just how our industry has played out in 2024 thus far. It's been a weird start to the year, if you can even call it that now 4 months in, with many ups and downs. The door blowout incident aboard an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX certainly led to a new crisis at Boeing and arguably set the tone for what would be key talking points throughout the first 4 months of the year. And what has that done? It sparked new concerns around safety and obviously flying scrutiny. The FAA's comments on United will likely show that they are doing their due diligence to ensure that customers can continue to feel safe aboard aircraft. This confidence in flying safely is something that for the general flyer may have slipped in recent months. United Airlines at least welcomes input from the FAA, who ultimately want the industry to be a better place. United says that the FAA has the potential to provide them with valuable insight to better understand what they're doing wrong and what is leading to this. We'll see how this plays out. Over to Lufthansa Group, who have been impacted by strike action for a significant period now. I know a lot of you do fly Lufthansa or are potentially based in Germany and watching the channel, and you may have been directly impacted by this strike action, with ground staff on multiple occasions walking out of the job. The labour union representing these workers I speak of had been demanding a better wage to accommodate its staff's higher cost of living and the natural inflation that we're seeing. The requested wage increase was around 12% and would include 25,000 workers. There would also be an inflation compensation bonus of around USD 3,250. Lufthansa had rejected these terms on multiple occasions. They had only offered previously to what we knew as high as 10%, which at least was viewed as an insult by the union for the Lufthansa Group ground staff employees. The 10% is obviously shy of the 12% that they were standing true at and requesting. Now, however, Lufthansa and the labour union have reached a wage deal agreement that'll not only remove any strikes that say were expected to take place place across the most recent Easter period, but it will also allow employees to feel fairly compensated and a little bit more secure in their jobs. Lufthansa said in a statement that they were satisfied with the outcome and believe a reasonable compromise was made with a significant wage increase. For Lufthansa, the strike action undertaken by ground staff saw thousands of flights cancelled on multiple occasions. This is ultimately a worst-case scenario for the airline in question, whose network would come to a halt, with the considerable knock-on effect certainly felt from the cancellations. While the ground staff's position is significantly underpaid in some regions, their role in getting the plane in the air is actually hugely important, and in some cases, the importance of this role and certainly the manual labour involved are often, I would at least say, ignored. And as a result, these employees can be unfairly compensated. Workers at Lufthansa had very simply been resorting to strike action to attempt to fight for better conditions, and now, many months later, they've been able to secure something that all parties can agree on. While Lufthansa Group has now settled this matter, its wage bill will increase in future quarters, and especially for the full financial year, with the changes being reflected. The airline group, however, is hardly the only company to see significant rises in that area. Now, wages for some companies are the most expensive outgoing. In North America, 2023 represented a very important year for workers not just in the United States but also Canada in securing better contracts for their work. However, due to these several new labour agreements being reached, we saw airline bills, including that of, say, Air Canada, increase substantially to reflect the better employee pay. For airlines that are not paying their workers at the level they wish, this represents a trying period, as obviously multiple parties attempt to work towards achieving a mutually agreed upon rate, and at least for Lufthansa, that seems to have been secured. On to the final story of today, and heading towards a region I don't often take a look at, purely because I don't really have any B-roll of these airlines, but it is Kenya Airways, who are continuing their strong recovery and turnaround efforts by announcing an operating profit for the full year ending December 31, 2023. Ultimately, Kenya Airways' growth is 287% greater than the year prior, as it posted a loss in 2022. In total, the operating profit swung to USD 80 million. Why is this important? Why am I talking about it? Well, the significant results means that for the first time since 2017, the airline has published a full year operating profit. And obviously following 2017, we know the years were pretty difficult for this airline, so it's huge that they've been able to turn around their fortunes and can now chart for a much more positive future. Across the financial year, there were several improvements that allowed Kenya Airways to publish these profits. These can be related to fleet, passengers, and much more. And for example, they saw passenger numbers increase around 35%. Additionally, they're now looking at boosting services to key markets right around the world. Notably, Nairobi to London will see an increase, and more aircraft are slated to join the fleet in the coming years. On-time performance is something that really did improve. At the beginning of the year, it was at a staggeringly poor low of 58%, but that improved to a new high of 76%. It makes it the second most efficient airline in Africa, and they'll only want to grow this long into the future. That's going to conclude today's aviation news recap. If you've got any thoughts, you definitely know that the best place you can leave them is down below in the comments, where no doubt someone in the community will happily engage with you. Thanks again for your support. See you same place, same time tomorrow for your latest industry recap.
And we'll fly.